Muscle Meds is the creator of carnivore pure beef protein isolate. Beef builds muscle, and carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome episode of Fac Attack.
Everybody.
IFBB Pro and contest prep coach / guru. I love that word, guru. Fakhri Mubarak. How are you, Fac?
Thank you, Ron. How you doing, man?
Good. So before we start the show is sponsored by Muscle Meds. Thank you, Gerard Dente. And he sent you some a new flavor of his carnivore RTD. It's vanilla cupcake.
Vanilla cupcake.
Yeah. So how's that taste, Fac?
I don't know. So you start thinking about vanilla cupcake and beef, right?
Yeah. It's beef protein in there. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it's fucking good. It's really, really, really good. You know.
And what's it got? What's the breakdown? 40 grams of protein on that?
Yeah, so it's 40 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 lactose because it's beef, and 0 gluten because it's beef. But I gotta tell you, Ron. I mean, you know, thinking about beef protein and vanilla cupcake flavor wasn't on my mind, but it's really good, really, really good.
I remember years ago he sent me some. I don't think it was an RTD. It was something else. It was a beef protein, but it was like a blue raspberry flavor. I'm like, why is beef in a blue raspberry flavor? That doesn't make any sense, but it tasted pretty damn good to me. So
yeah, I had the store at that time when we got it in. People were like, "Oh, what is that?" So I actually opened up a container, and anybody who would ask about the beef protein, the carnivore, I would sample it out. People loved it. We sold a lot of it.
Right. All right, so we got a great topic this week, and you come up with all the topics. I can't take any credit for this one. This is called Steps to Turning Pro, and you've helped more than a couple people turn pro. Do you keep track?
Yeah, so I have 115 IFBB Pro clients that I turned pro, 115 amateur NPC clients that I turned pro, 25 natural clients that I've turned pro on top of the 115, and then I guess we couldn't talk about it before, like years ago, but I've been contracted by 26 girls that turned IFBB pros as well, but they were under contracts with other coaches and companies and non-disclosure contracts. Believe it or not, I mean there's non-disclosure contracts even in bodybuilding.
Wow. Well, anyway, so that I say all that so that the viewers who might not be as familiar with what your track record is know that you're one of the very best that's ever been in this business as far as coaching people. And turning pro is not an easy thing. It's easier now than it used to be, for sure, because we have all these categories. It's a lot easier if you're a woman too, let's be real, because they have so many more options, so many different categories, divisions to choose from. But still, there are some steps. So this was what you came up with, talking about what are the steps to turn pro, because I think anyone who starts training seriously and takes that much interest in improving their physique and wants to compete, the end goal is they all want to turn pro. I don't think there's anybody who says, no, I never want to turn pro. I think even in the back of everyone's mind, that's the goal. So what's the very first step, Fac?
So, I mean, the first step is to start training, right? I mean, you have to realize that to turn pro, there has to be some type of training intensity. Myself, I started training in 1990. I didn't compete until 2000. But from the very first day I started training, the intensity was there. So I know I could have probably turned pro somewhere throughout those 10 years. But I was also natural from 1990 to 2000. So the training intensity has to be first. I mean, you have to understand that, you look at these magazines and nowadays with social media and stuff like that. Not even magazines, right? Because nowadays it's social media and YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook and stuff like that. And they think it's easy, but it's not. These guys, if you think you're training hard, somebody is training harder than you. Trust me.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I think it's funny. I think everybody thinks they train harder than everybody else. There's a lot of people. I've talked to so many people who think nobody trains harder than me. And I'm thinking, well, there's 8 billion people on this planet. I bet somebody out there trains harder than you do. Man.
I love hearing that because I'm like, all right, cool. Let's train together. And most people don't finish the workout the way they should. Let's lower the weight, let's do this, let's do that. But you're right. I mean, training intensity. See, it was easy for me because we had Dorian Yates in 1990. We had guys, as I mentioned before, I trained with Mike Menza 3 summers and 3 winters.
Wow.
So it was easy for me to understand what intensity, what real real intensity was.
Yeah.
You know, so when I used to train in the gyms, you know, I guess everybody, you know, saw how everybody else was training. So every gym I trained at pretty much when I was younger until recently, I would say until like the last 10 years, like let's say the first 22 years, 23 years of me training, everybody trained intense, but it's changed so much nowadays that, you know, you see it, you see the lack of intensity.
Yeah. I just want to touch on the Mentor thing because I was around him many times. I was such a spineless idiot. I never went up to him, but I could tell he had a way about him that if you were his client and you didn't put out 100% intensity and effort, he would kick you out the door. He didn't care if you were paying him or not. He'd be like, nah, get out. We're not working together anymore. I saw him with people acting that way a couple times.
So Mike wasn't cheap. Mike was already charging $300 in the early 90s. I mean, just talk to him on the phone was $250. I mean, Mike was very eccentric in his own way. Yeah. He was very mean. You know, he was very unforgiving. But if you trained hard, he respected you. I had arguments with Mike all the time. I mean, it was literally all the time because when the first year I trained with him was like 1993. And I was already strong. I was already, you know, benching. I was already, you know, squatting 500 pounds. I was benching over 315. So the thing with Mike is, you know, really you have to do quicks. You know, you have to do warm-up sets to get to that last working set. Yeah. But the warm-up sets were very limited. So my thing with Mike was like, Mike, I'm squatting 500 pounds. Like I can't do 2 warm-up sets to get up to 500 pounds. Yeah. You know, I got to warm up at least, you know, 1 plate at a time. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. I'm like, but bro, nobody you train has really been this strong, you know. Not that I was the strongest guy he trained, but I was young and I was pretty strong. So that was the thing with me and Mike. But other than that, yeah, you're right. Yeah. He really didn't take any shit from anybody.
That's why I never went up to him. I think even if I was going to go up and try to introduce myself, I think he would have told me to fuck off. So I'm like, nah.
Mike probably would have.
I kept my distance. So
I love him though. I respect him a lot, and he taught me a lot.
Yeah, I wish I had known him. So the next thing you brought up a couple points. Next thing you start looking at is your diet. So tell me about that.
Right. So first the training, of course, and then dieting. As you said earlier, you know, everybody thinks they train hard enough, and they don't. Right. Yeah. Same thing with dieting. Right. Everybody says I eat a lot. So when I break down, you know, what are you eating? I'm like, well, that's like the amount of calories in your first 2 meals. You know, people talking about Hot Pockets, Pop-Tarts, you know, yeah, like 3 shakes a day and stuff like that. So you have to understand the diet and the dieting it takes to become a competitor. You know, we have to eat, you know, females minimum 4 times a day. Some females that have eat 6 times a day, depending on the metabolism. Guys, you know, minimum 6 meals a day in a shake. Some guys eat 7 meals a day, you know. So dieting is, you know, and it's not, you know, Ron, it's not easy. Like eating 5, 6, 7 times a day is not easy. You know that.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had like, Dexter Jackson didn't like to eat, you know, and he's one of the, you know, the GOATs, one of the greatest of all times. You know, so eating is something that you have to understand that you have to do, and you have to. It's not just training. I mean, nutrition. I believe is most of bodybuilding. So eating is very difficult, and you have to feel comfortable eating that way, in order to compete.
And you have to be prepared to have all that food. You either have to cook it all yourself, or you have to have someone in your life who's willing to do it for you, or you could pay for a meal prep company, or maybe if you're lucky enough, get sponsored by one or something. But that eating is a job, and you know, you're right. Everyone loves training. Training's fun. Is it fun to cook? You know, pounds and pounds of food every week, and all these Tupperwares and glass containers, and eating and cleaning up, and it's work. So next thing on your list,
a lot of people don't do it. It's not just the appetite. Well, a lot of people don't have the appetite, but if you're training hard enough, you can have the appetite. But yeah, I mean, I think the workload of cooking is the issue. You know, finding the time. If you want to do something, it's a job. But if you want to compete, that's a job you have to take on.
100%. Okay, so next thing that I saw on your list, real quick, was cardio. How does cardio factor into all this?
So cardio is something everybody hates, right?
Yeah.
everybody loves to train. You know, most people like to eat. You know, but cardio hardly anybody does. But I think, you know, Ron, I think we've discussed this in prior episodes about how important cardio is, not just for bodybuilding purposes, but for the cardiovascular system, right? Your heart. to stay healthy and everything else. But cardio also helps you, helps you breathe better. Therefore, you can go deeper into your sets. You can go heavier into your weights without getting tired. Go deeper into your workout. So cardio is something that has to be done. I mean, do you have to do an hour of cardio per day? No. Some girls are doing 3 hours of cardio per day. I mean, it doesn't take, right? Let me tell you something, everybody. It doesn't take a genius of a coach to feed you 0 calories or 0 cardio in 3 hours zero carbohydrates in 3 hours of cardio, right?
Yep.
If you have a coach like that, you might as well fire him and do it yourself.
Yep.
But realize that cardio has to be part of it. Whether some competitors can get away with 20 minutes, some competitors can get away with 30 minutes a day, and some of them a little bit more. But I mean, see, my whole thing is when I diet, I never go that low on the calories. So I'm always above the calorie overage that we need to get to that goal. Whether it's the gain muscle, maintain muscle, or come down in weight, but also maintain the muscle while you're coming down in weight. We don't want to lose muscle. So I'll add the cardio as a way of keeping your physique where it should be, as opposed to dropping the calories. Then you're gonna come down in weight and lose muscle. So my cardio is used more for keeping you in shape and keeping you as big and full as possible. But I tell my clients, I describe everything I just described to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, if they've dieted, if they've tried it both ways, I think everyone would probably, most people would agree, I'd rather be able to eat more and just do a little more cardio than starve and do less cardio.
Exactly.
And there's no excuse, 20 years ago when we had Sony Discman, it was, cardio was a pain in the ass. But now, dude, you got everything on there. You got music, you got movies, TV shows, freaking TikTok. You could be on your phone all damn day, and cardio doesn't have to be a grind anymore.
Wow, by the time you pick a show on your phone, you're 15 minutes into the cardio. So it goes that fast.
Yeah. So another thing you mentioned was if you have the end goal of becoming a pro, I've talked to people that tell me that, and I say, how many contests have you been to? And they go, oh, I've never been to a contest. I'd say, how could you aspire to be on that stage as a professional? You've never even been to like a local or regional show. So what do you tell people? Go to a few, go to a couple, soak it all in?
So I started going to shows like in the late 80s. So it was before I even started training. I had a couple of guys in my neighborhood that competed. I went to shows throughout the 90s. So I already saw what was out there. But yeah, I mean, you can't. So going to a show is a lot different than looking at social media. Looking at Instagram and whatever and seeing these guys, because some people are docking their pictures, right? They're photoshopping their pictures and stuff. So you can't go by that. Yeah. You can't go by like looking at people that have millions of followers, because those are the elite, right? That's why they have those type of followers. Right. So when you go to a show, you realize and decipher better. Well, you know what? My physique is close to this. I could get to that level. Like last year, I wasn't at this level at the Mets 2022, but the Metropolitan 2023. Okay, I'm closer to this competitor. Whatever class you're in, I'm closer to this competitor now. So with me, when I decided to compete, remember the Roads to the Olympia tapes?
Oh yeah, I love those.
And the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So I decided to compete. I'll give you the exact date. I decided to compete.
Battle for the Olympia. Was it called
Battle for the Olympia? Right. Yeah. It was the Road to the Olympia and the Battle to Olympia. I forgot the guy's name. Mitsuru
Okabe.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That was the guy who was working the show. So when I decided to compete, when I finally decided to compete, it was June 10th, 2000. It was my friend at the Atlantic States that day. So I went to the Muscle Mag had a store over here in Long Island. They had an actual store. Oh wow! So I went to bought a couple of tapes, and I would throw it in, and then I would sit down with my friends and my family and be like, "Hey, do I look like Sean Ray? No. Hey, do I look Lee Priest? No." But throughout the years, 2000, 2021, 2022, I was able to look like them. And I'm not saying any amateur should try to do this, but remember, I was already training for 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
So just realize what's out there and compare yourself realistically to what's out there.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people who went on to become pros, and they tell me, they went to a show before they started competing. And a lot of them said, man, I saw these people. Here's the light heavyweights. Here's the guy that won the overall. I said, and they were thinking to myself, I could beat that guy. And, the next year they came back and they won that show and eventually became a pro. But another thing that you made a good point is if you're already at a level where you think you're ready to be a pro, where a lot of people have that hashtag going pro in all their tags on their social media posts, I say, don't just look at the pros on social media. Go to a pro show. There's plenty of pro shows. Geez, last year we had like 1,000 of them. There's a ton of pro shows. Like for us, the New York Pro, that's the whole Northeast. That's the show we all go to. I would say, if you think you're going to be you should be a classic physique pro or figure pro, whatever, go to the New York Pro, sit and watch the entire judging, and be very honest with yourself. Do I look like them? Would I fit in? Would I fit in with these, or would I be way out of place? Because you might realize, man, I still got some work to do. Because I think people are very impatient now, more impatient now than ever in general, because it's a fast food society. We're just used to getting everything now. But it's you might have work to do. You might need more mass. You might need a certain body part. You might need some work, definitely, before you're ready for that stage.
100%. And once you compete, just be ready. I mean, just make sure you're on stage, because a lot of people get on stage and they get killed. And it's because they started too early. They got on stage too early. They didn't develop their body enough. Another thing is, go to, you mentioned pro shows, go to national shows that are pro qualifiers, because the person who wins the pro qualifier already looks like a pro. So you have to look like a pro to get a pro card to compete as a pro, right? So if you could look somewhere along the top 5 or the top 10, then it's okay to go into the NPC show. But I'm not one for warm-up shows. I'm not one to test the waters. I'm not one to, I'm one to go in there once I'm ready. And and when I was young, there wasn't a lot of pros around me. So the pros that were around me, when they said, listen, you have a shot, I knew I had a shot. It wasn't like, my friend who's 145 pounds telling me that we're both going to turn pro. It's a little different nowadays.
Yeah. Another thing is, you talk about categories, divisions. Some people will have it in their head that I'm going to be, especially women seem to have in their head, I'm a figure competitor, I'm a bikini competitor, and that's what I'm going to be. And it turns out, like, I'll give a very quick story. There's a woman at my gym. She's the concrete Barbie. You can follow her on Instagram, Nicole. And she had a heart set on becoming, competing in figure. And I was looking at her, and she's jacked. I said, figure? I said, women's physique. I think you do a lot better in women's physique. You turn pro in that. She did nationals last fall. And she took like 4th in her figure class, and she took 2nd in the physique. So she turned pro in physique. So as usual, I'm right. But yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm wrong more than I'm right. But do you find a lot of people sort of limit themselves by thinking I fit into this category when they might be better off in a different division?
Yeah, especially starting off, right? You don't want to limit yourself, and by limiting yourself, not just limiting your mindset to a category, but limiting your physique, which is the worst limitations you could have, by limiting your physique growth. Just train as hard as you can. Develop your body, right? Develop every body part you can. Well, a lot of people don't like. I've had clients, over the last few years saying, well, maybe I shouldn't be a bodybuilder. Maybe I should drop down to classical physique. Classical physique is not a mini bodybuilder. That's 2 different categories. Or a girl with a big butt saying, well, you know what, I want a big butt and big legs, saying I want to do bikini. No, I mean, you're a wellness competitor, especially now that they have a wellness. And right. Yeah, and I think figure and women's physique also gets, pretty much confused. Well, I'm very muscular. Let me do women's physique. I'm like, no, but you're shaped more like a figure competitor. So, with that in mind, you should develop your physique as completely as you can. Let your physique determine what category you're going to be in. And of course, sometimes as a brand new trainee or training for a couple of years, you don't have the guidance, but go to somebody who you trust, that has the affirmation, that has the reputation, that has equity in the game to let you know what's going on, especially, some of the head judges. I mean, I know people drive Steve Weinberger, crazy out here. Steve is a good friend of mine. I love him to death. And every time I bring a client to him, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm driving you crazy, But, somebody like Steve, there's a lot of people around the country that will help you and tell you the truth of which category you fit in, but never limit your growth. Never. Just keep training hard.
Yeah, because there's so many coaches now, Fak. A lot of these coaches, they've never even been to a contest. they'll train you for a contest. They've never been to one. They've never competed. They don't know. They have no idea. It's the blind leading the blind. You know, maybe they can get you on a decent diet and get you lean and everything, but you need to find people like yourself, like Weinberger, somebody who really has that eye, who's been around the game a long time and can guide you in the right direction. Because otherwise, you might end up in some very strange divisions you don't belong in, some contests you shouldn't be doing, on and on and on.
You know what I told somebody the other day? Bodybuilding is probably there's only one I can think of. Bodybuilding is probably the only sport where somebody who's never achieved personal success in bodybuilding could write a diet and could prep people, you know, which is fucking scary, right? So like if I've never done it with myself, with my own, if I've never experimented, and experimentation does not mean dangerous experimentation. Experimenting means, you know, anything from like 10 milligrams of VAR to, you know, whatever amount of whatever you want to talk about. But if you've never taken any type of PEDs yourself, if you've never trained yourself, if you've never written training programs for yourself, if you don't have any self achievement in the sport, how the hell are you going to be a coach? You know, and it's not the person's fault, because the person could be a con man and could just try to make money, right? It's fucked up, but that's on them. The problem here is the client and the people who are hiring them should ask for a resume, should see a resume before hiring them. And you're right, it's dangerous.
So the one thing I really want to get into is genetics, because this is a sport where genetics are very, very important. And everyone does not have the genetics to become a pro, even though there are a lot more opportunities to turn pro now. There's thousands of pros now. It's still not for everybody. I run into a lot of people who think it's sort of like a merit-based thing. Like, as long as they keep competing, if they've been training a certain amount of time, they think it's like college. If you just go for 4 years and get the right grades, you get this diploma. Well, nobody automatically is worthy of a pro card or deserving of a pro card. You know, you'll see people with awesome genetics who turn pro very quickly. Sometimes they're not even the brightest people. Other times you'll get someone who's dedicated years and years and years, but maybe they just can't get their legs to grow, or their structure sucks. It's something genetic that prohibits them from ever reaching that pinnacle, the pro card. But I do seem to run into a lot of people now who think, well, they just deserve to be a pro. If they've trained hard and they eat right and they put in enough time and effort, they deserve to be a pro. But that's, you know, think about like in the NFL or something. Imagine if everyone thought, well, I practice really hard and, you know, I really want to be in the NFL, so they should put me in the NFL. No, they're not going to pick you in the draft or anything just for that. They pick the very best people. It's big money, obviously, but it's a similar situation. The best physiques on stage at pro qualifiers are going to turn pro. It's not who's been trained the longest or the hardest or who's got the biggest heart. You know, it does come down to genetics. Once you get to a certain level, when everyone's got great genetics, like the pros, yeah, that's when who's putting in more effort, and that's when that takes more factors more into it. But man, I don't even know where you want to begin with this one, Fak.
So you hit it on the head there. You hit it on the head, Ron. So okay, so in football, right? It's the 40-yard dash. It's your weights, depending on what position you're going to play in. It's your hands, depending if you're going to be a running back and a cornerback, right? Cornerbacks and wide receivers are usually built the same, you know, but their hands are determined whether you're going to be a defensive back or a wide receiver. Your hands being, you know, how good your catching ability is. Running back, how fast. Quarterback, how tall. You know, not really tall, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you still have to have some type of height. You can't be a short quarterback because you have to see over your offensive line. So every single sport has things that the athlete needs, right?
Yeah.
Basketball, you have to have some type of height. I mean, you have Muggsy Bogues who was 5'3", but you know that was like, you know, we're probably never gonna see somebody being 5'3" again. So what I'm trying to get at is that every single sport has a determining factor for the most part.
A genetic blueprint.
Right, for the most part, which is height, speed, you know, whatever, skating on ice, swimming, but bodybuilding doesn't. So bodybuilding is, like you said, thought of as a merit. sport, right? The longer I compete, the better I'm gonna get. The more, the more carnivore or anything else I drink, the bigger I'm gonna get. The more, this is the bodybuilding show. We talk about PEDs all the time, Ron. The more PEDs I take, the better I'm gonna get. And the answer is no, right? That's not the secret. Now, in 2023 is a lot easier because back in my days, or back in your days too, Ron. I think you go back further than I did, more than 33 years. Okay. We only had bodybuilding for men. That was it. Yeah. That was it. There was one class for men. Yeah. So, but back then we did have classical physiques, right?
Yeah.
We did have men's physiques. Like we had guys that looked like that, but those were the guys that we looked at them and those aren't bodybuilders. Those are the small guys. Those are this, those are that. And the same thing with the females. They had certain categories also, but they weren't instituted into the sport. They weren't categories that were officially in the sport. So going back to what we talked about, the training, the eating, realizing where you should fit in. That should determine, what class you're gonna be in. But also the time it takes. Like I trained 10 years natural, man. Mm-hmm. So and I put up pictures, the week before, because the week before I was in Great Adventure, and I took a picture with and it's a real picture because I had a Chrysler 300M. So I think that car came out in 98, 99. So it was a real picture. Yeah. So it was a real picture of what I look like natural. But I think the time, it's not about, it's about time. It's about training. I think it's a lot easier. We all know it's a lot easier to turn pro, but just fitting into the right category and just training hard enough. But genetics do play a big role. I just think you can get away with genetics a little bit more. You can get away with less genetics a little bit more nowadays. Not too much in classical physique or men's physique, right? Because there's a standard. There's the wide shoulders, small waist, V-shapers. You have to have a certain silhouette. You have to fit that silhouette. With bodybuilding, it's a little bit easier because there's less bodybuilders. The biggest, hardest guy nowadays is going to win because there's not that many competitors in the class. Females, you have different categories. But I agree, not everybody has genetics on, and some people don't grow. Like I have clients that don't change that much. And I'm like, listen, not now. There's a site called roidtest.com.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I use that all the time, Ron. I tell my clients all the time, order from the site. And sometimes, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes they test their stuff and the stuff is real. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, and I gotta get on the phone with them and really make them understand. Listen, you're not gonna look like Nick Walker. You're not gonna you're not gonna look like Derek Lansford. You're not gonna look like you're not gonna look like Hadi Chopin, but you can make changes. Just this is the fact. These are your genetics. And then there's other times that people just blow up on water. Genetics play a huge role.
The gear response, that's an aspect of genetics very few people understand, very few people talk about, but some people have they're hyper responders. Some people take very moderate doses of gear and they blow the F up. And we've both known people who take tons of crap and they just look like what I like to say, 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, basically.
Yeah. But, and it's not, I've prepped men's physique competitors and classic physique competitors that have come to me that are taking more shit than guys that I prepped in the pro ranks as a bodybuilder.
Sure.
And I'm like, listen, I'm like, either the stuff is fake again, order the testing kits, or you're just not responding. And the more, and then the blood work starts going up to, your creatinine level starts going up to 1, 1.5, 2. Your BUN starts going to 30. These are your blood work panels, guys. Your BUN, your BUN, which is the toxicity of your blood, and it's also another function of your kidney. Another function of another indicator of how your kidney's working. Right. That starts going up too. You're making yourself sick, and so I'm very careful with blood work. Blood work to me is everything, right? That's the profile. Like, should we do a PCT? Well, to check your blood work, right? If your blood work is okay as it was when you were on the PCT last time, then we could continue. Should I take this? Should I take that? Well, let's check your blood work. So you have to be very careful and mindful of everything. But people are getting themselves sick because they wanna look like Chris Bum. Man, I wish I could look like Chris Bum. I'm sure you wish you could look like Chris Bum, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's not just trying to become the biggest, baddest guy you can in bodybuilding, but it's to develop your own physique with your own genetics. But sometimes you're right, Rob. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes some people don't have the genetics and they don't respond well to PEDs.
It's one thing I should have said this earlier, but the one thing I look at first for somebody is their bone structure, because you do need a natural V taper before you put any muscle on a person's body. If your clavicles are this wide and your hips are this wide, whether you're male or female, you're never going to do well in competition. Every category, male and female, they want some kind of a taper. They want broader shoulders and a narrower waist. You don't want super long arms and legs. You don't want super short arms and legs. And your bones, obviously, you can't change your bones. There's no drug in the world that's going to change your bone structure. That's number one. And then muscle bellies. A lot of people don't understand. You should have long muscle bellies. And I remember, years ago, when I was 18 years old, I sent pictures off to a guy named Ellington Darden, who was Arthur Jones' right-hand man at Nautilus. He wrote a ton of books.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
And, I was all stoked because I'd read their books and I trained on Nautilus machines only. So I sent this guy, he's off in Florida. I sent him my pictures. Said, what do you think? Can I be a pro? He's like, nope, you don't have the muscle bellies for him. I'm like, you son, I was so mad. And I was like, I'm going to prove him wrong. Well, that was 1988. And here we are, 2023. So he was actually right. He was completely right on that. Because, muscle, if people don't understand what we're talking about. So muscle belly, every muscle has an origin and an insertion. Look at your bicep. If it originates here, right under your delt there, and it's going to insert somewhere between there and your elbow. Ideally, you want it way down at the elbow. That's a very long bicep. Like Sergio Oliva, the 3-time Mr. Olympia, Sergio Oliva Jr.'s dad, perfect example. His biceps were so long, Fak, he couldn't. This is as close as he could bring them in a double. He couldn't do this because the bicep was in the way. It was that long and full, like a big football. Man, I don't know where I'm getting all
over. Different shape too. Because if you look, it's like, let's take Kevin Larone for instance, right? Yeah. Kevin Larone had a long bicep, so when he flexed his arm, his bicep was big. Yeah. Robbie Robinson, he's known for his peak, right? That crazy peak Robbie had. But Robbie didn't have the long bicep, but he had a peak that made his bicep look big, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's part of genetics, bone structure and round muscle bellies and how long your muscle bellies are and stuff like that. Like for myself, people are like, oh, you had great calves, you had huge legs. Well, if you really take a look, when you get a chance on yourself, like take a look at a picture of me. Like my calves aren't that low, right? And my quads didn't go all the way down to my knees. Like my muscle structure wasn't ideal, right? It wasn't ideal for reaching the weights and the size that I did. But I think my training, the amount of food and just my intensity was grew. But yeah, if you look at my pictures, my calves weren't low, my thighs weren't low, but I was able to develop them because I responded very well to training. I gained 60 pounds my first 3 years of training. Natural. Wow. But then again, I was eating cake batter, drinking gallons. I think I left you a comment the other day, right? About me drinking milk for protein and a loaf of bread for carbohydrates. But my mindset was to eat big and train big ever since I first started. So that overcompensated a little bit. But yeah, some people just don't have the genetics. I hate to say it. True.
I mean, it's not everyone's going to be. Not everyone wants to play in the NBA. If you're 5'3", sorry, dude. I'm sorry. Shit, that's life. I guess the last one last thing I want to touch on was back in the day. I think there was more of a progression attitude towards competing, where people would do a local show, state show, regional show, junior national show, national show, and they would try to win everything before they went on to the next level. Whereas now I see people jump in a national qualifier, and maybe there was only 2 people in the class, so they qualified and they suck. But there's no one to tell them, you're not ready for the nationals. What are you doing? And they go to the nationals and they get smoked. How do you counsel a lot of competitors? Do you try to encourage them to take it a little more of a step process to it?
Yeah. So a real quick story. My first show was Eastern USA's in New York, and there was a guy walking around with overalls with his chest out to here, his traps out to here, like his arms were huge, and I was a light heavyweight. So I looked at him and I was like, holy fuck. Even though I knew what I had because I was training natural for 10 years. And I was, that was, but I started taking PEDs in June of 2000. And then by November 2000, I was already competing. So there was 42 guys in my weight class.
Oof. Yeah.
At a regional show, 42 guys in my weight class at a regional show.
You guys listening? Because you're not running into that at your regional shows. I promise you.
No, I judge shows now. I'm a judge. I sit along freaking. I sit along with Steve Weinberger, Maz Ali. I sit along the top guys. Yeah. And there's sometimes not 42 guys in the whole bodybuilding show. Never less than one class. So there was 42 people in that class. I think he finished like 20th.
Wow.
Because. And I asked him, I was like, this is my joke. I asked him, I said, where are you from? He goes, Idaho, but he was really fucking cocky. So at the end of the show, I was like, well, I'm like, listen, you have a lot. I was nice. I was an adult. I was already 26 years old. I was an adult. I already had a lot of stuff going on. I wasn't an uneducated, cocky kid. So I went up to him. I said, listen, you have a lot of size. Why don't you continue, just working on your conditioning? And he was like, I don't give a fuck where you place. You shouldn't be giving me advice. So I looked at him. I said, listen. I said, the next time you win the Idaho Potato Classic, do not come to New York to compete. That was it. Yeah. But going back to the original question, yes. I mean, and I said this earlier. I don't believe in putting my foot in the water to testing the waters. I don't believe in warm-up shows. I believe in competing once we are able to compete. But luckily, when I get somebody under my, when I get a client, right? Yeah. We always try to develop the best physique we can before we actually compete. And I tell them the truth. I'm like, listen, you're not going to compete until, so and so date. Some guys, I just picked up a classical physique competitor. He says he wants to do men's physique, but Ron, when the guy sent me the pictures, I emailed him back and I said, my brother. So I'm going to promise you something right now. You're going to turn pro. It might not be in 2023, but it ain't going to be past the middle of 2024. So you sometimes see people that have an amazing structure and amazing ability, to compete at a high level. But yeah, I mean, you have to, again, we talked about this earlier too. You have to realize where you're at, go to shows, understand where you're at, and don't push somebody to compete because the pressure of competing is hard enough for a lot of people, right? And they take it, especially now with social media and stuff like that. There's been, the Surgeon General on TV the other day talking about, the pressure of social media on young people. Oh, wow. It'll destroy you mentally and also, and destroy and sometimes stop you from competing further in the sport. So you have to be ready, man. I mean, just compete once you're ready. Like, and for me, being ready means, for me as a coach, being ready. Well, I think you can finish top 5 at a region, at a local show. If you can finish top 5 at a local show, and I know because I coach, I know because I've been doing this for 33 years. I know because I've been coaching for that long, so I know when you're ready to compete and finish top 5. Yeah. Do you have to be able to finish top 5 to compete? No, but just be your best and have a competitive body. Don't go up there fat. Don't go up there without no muscle. If you're lean enough, you might be a little flat, not fat, flat, but at least you're lean enough to get on stage. And conditioning is the biggest thing, right? Because even if you don't have enough muscles, if you're conditioned nowadays, you're going to place higher because nowadays people aren't bringing in the conditioning in the NPC, especially in bodybuilding.
So that really gets back to why I think anyone who's thinking about competing, at least go to one show because coaching is such a huge business now. There's a lot of coaches. They will blow smoke up your ass. So they will tell you, oh, let's get you in a show. These people are in no way ready to get on this contest stage. But this is a way to hook them and get them as a client. And now I'm going to prep you and this and that. And I see these people at shows. And it's like, oh, no, this poor guy or this poor girl. They needed like another year or 2 of training. But somebody, their coach, said, no, let's get you on that. Let's get you in the New England or the Easterns or whatever it is. And it's a big business.
It destroys people mentally. It just destroys them mentally. So don't do it, man. Even if your coach is saying it, Don't do it. You should know if you're not ready. Don't put your trust into somebody and say, oh, okay, I'm ready. You should know if you're not ready. If you're here and you're going to a show and they're here and they're that much higher than you, you're not ready. You're just not ready. And take your time. You might be ready in 3 months. You might be ready in 4 months, 6 months. Because the body changes really fast sometimes. Just take your time.
Yeah. And I always tell people, shows aren't going anywhere. There's always going to be more shows. There's always another show. Because I know people, they get injured or they lose their job or they get divorced. Like, I got to do the show. I'm like, no. Terrible time to do a show. No, wait and do another show. This is it. Anyway, great discussion, as I knew it would be. Great topic idea. There's your dog. Okay, guys.
This guy is so bossy, man. Like, he determines when he wants to go outside and everything else.
Yeah, I always make sure I walk my dog first before this because he would be a pain in the ass too. So, all right, so thank you so much, Fak. This has been another awesome episode. Guys, you want to follow him on social media? He is at, what is it, Fak?
It's Fakhri. It's on Instagram, Fakhri Mubarak _IFBB Pro.
Yeah, easy enough to find. With all those other Fakhri Mubaraks. No, you're probably So, man, thank you so much, Fak. And guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like the video. Hit that thumbs up thing. Get your notifications turned on with that bell thing so you know when we're coming out with great new content. So many other great shows on this channel, including an MD Muscle Talk that Fak is a very, very great contributor on that show. Check that out if you had. In fact, if you haven't seen the last episode with Fak and the gang had Hunter Labrado on, you got to go check that out. That was incredible. That was a great episode, Fak. Great one.
Thank you.
You had some great questions.
By the way, the John show.
John lived you absolutely serious and silliness, but you're a very important component of that show, I feel already. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching Fak Attack. We'll see you right here next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.